bust loose and break free. I'm dancing to my dreams, bursting at the seams. I'm feeling delicious. Who knows who I am? 'Cause now is my time to have a groove state of mind. I'm grooving. I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am. I'm grooving. I'm grooving. I'm grooving, yes I am.
Hola!
Hello, Ridgely. I love the line from that song, "Now is the time to have a groove state of mind." I feel like that's a great tagline for this session.
That's a great tagline. I even have my groove drink.
Oh, very nice. I've got some warm chocolate electrolytes in this mug.
Oh, there you go. Chocolate electrolytes.
One of my obsessions. Element, the company LMNT, makes a chocolate electrolyte, and around the holidays, they make a chocolate mint and a chocolate caramel that are like dessert. It gets me through. I'm, as you know, keto most of the time. I drink and eat very little sugary things. So, yeah, warm chocolate electrolytes.
I think a warm chocolate electrolyte in the middle of the day to get you through is perfect.
Yep.
Sounds amazing to me.
Especially with the air conditioner on as low as it is here. I need the warmth.
That is so funny. There we go.
As if on cue.
They're saying hello to us. We appreciate it. So I love this topic, the idea of blossoming and opening up and coming into our own, and generally noting that it comes in the wake of something, like that yes, maybe in nature it happens naturally. We can talk about that in a minute. But ordinarily, I find that the idea of blossoming comes because there was some seed that was planted and there was a lot of nurturing that went along into that process. What do you think?
I spot on. I was giving that some thought in a couple of minutes before this session, and I did a little bit of word association personally with blossoming, and the word that came to my mind was nurture. That nothing blossoms unless it's nurtured. I don't know if that's true because I haven't actually tested, I'm an N01 here, but my theory is that blossoming requires nurturing.
Well, I went to my favorite friend, Webster.
All right. Smart guy there.
I swear to God, this thing weighs like 30 pounds. It's kind of ridiculous. And he checked blossom, and it says, a flower or bloom, especially of a fruit-bearing plant, a state or time of flowering, literally and figuratively. Now, here's one that's interesting. The peculiar color of a horse when bay or sorrel hairs are mixed freely with white, a kind of peach color. I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
And it says, in the period of blossoming, to have or open into blossoms or flowers, to flourish and prosper. I love that. And that nurture word is the word that comes to me because it just seems like the thought that I have when it comes to blossoming is of this, some kind of an opening, some kind of a light flowing out in some way. It's like the process of enlightenment, shedding light on in some way.
Blossoms feel like results. Mm-hmm. Blossoming is the reward for hard work and effort and labor and nurturing. Blossoming is the beauty at the end of the struggle.
Yeah. And I don't know that those who have not endured and gone through the struggle really have the ability to fully appreciate the blossoming. If it comes too easy, it's just sort of shallow.
I reject that. I don't like to think that things have to be hard or require struggle. So I want to reject that premise in my life that things can happen easily and blossoming can happen without struggle, without challenge. I really challenge the idea that work has to be hard, that being busy and working hard has to be difficult.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. What I'm
Yeah.
more saying is that the enjoyment of the blossoming is
Oh,
correspondent to the amount of effort that goes into that blossom.
I apologize. I misunderstood. In that case, I do agree because I do think that the height of our pleasure matches the depths of our unhappiness. I think that those extremes are on parity, and it's only when stuff gets really bad that you can appreciate how good the really good is, and likewise when if it was all really good, you would never experience the bad in life or the difficult things. So yeah, I think you're right. I think the appreciation of that period is better when you feel the pain to get there.
It's almost impossible if you think about the idea of discovering sweet to someone. Describing sweet to someone. How would you define sweet? Until you taste it, it's almost impossible to describe it. Like, try describing sweet. Oh, it's sweet. Well, what does that mean? It's sweet.
Yeah. And you can use it's sugary. Well, okay. Also sweet. So yeah, if you don't know sugary, you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard. And if you've never tasted sour and all you tasted was sweet, it would be hard to do that too. That juxtaposition of that high and that low, the challenge and the reward, all of those things, I think form part of the human experience. And we're kind of in it. And if you think to times of challenge, times of where you had to put in a lot of effort and then something blossoms, the joy or the exuberance that comes along with that seems to go along with how much effort went into the thing. Was it a lot of effort and then there was a big blossoming, or was it only a little effort? The blossoming is still beautiful, but the enjoyment of the blossoming is a different scale.
I think this is such a fascinating little bit here. I think that the effort put into blossoming makes the desire for the blossom stronger versus things that are effortless. And maybe I didn't want this blossoming, or I wasn't striving for this blossoming and it happened, and it is no less good than a blossoming that I strove for. I just wasn't anticipating it. Interesting thought.
Well, my man Miguel Ruiz has these sort of imagine that, and he goes through a series of them, and I'm just going to quote a couple of them just for us to ponder for a second. Imagine that you have permission to be happy and to really enjoy your life. Your life is free of conflict with yourself and with others. Imagine living your life without fear of expressing your dreams. You know what you want, what you don't want, and when you want it. You are free to change your life the way you really want to. Imagine living your life without the fear of being judged by others. You no longer rule your behavior according to what others may think about you. Imagine living your life without judging others. You can easily forgive others and let go of any judgments that you have. And he goes through this series, and then he says the following: the reason I ask you to imagine these things is because they're all entirely possible. You can live in the state of grace, the state of bliss, the dream of heaven. But in order to experience this dream, you must first understand what it is. I think that's a very well said thing. Here's imagine this, imagine this, imagine this, imagine this. but you got to understand what it looks like or what it feels like in order to even be able to do that or manifest it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, oh, I get there by accident kind of concept.
It's very hard to imagine something you've never seen or experienced.
And he's basically talking about love, right? He says, you can be loving all the time. This is your choice. You may not have a reason to love, but you can love because to love makes you so happy. Love in action only produces happiness. Love will give you inner peace. It will change your perception of everything. You can see everything with the eyes of love. In that case, there's a lot of blossoming out there because you're looking around and that's what you're seeing. Constant. I do think it's interesting. He also says, maybe we cannot escape from the destiny of the human, but we have a choice to suffer our destiny or enjoy our destiny, to live in hell or to live in heaven. My choice is to live in heaven. What is yours?
Also to live in heaven. Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Right? But that's what he kind of like positions it very interestingly. Imagine this, imagine that, imagine this, imagine that. You got to like kind of put some effort into thinking about these things. Otherwise, we drift. I was on the phone doing a GrooveGrowth program a little while ago with a young man that I used to mentor. Well, young now he's 40, Nick, who made $70 million by the time he was 32. Did very, very well. Very, very smart guy. And we had this incredible conversation about, I asked him, what would you say to the young Nick of 20 years ago, if you had the ability to go back in a time warp and do all that? And he said, I would tell him to go faster. What was he said? He would say, go faster and harder and quicker. Now, this is a guy who compressed 30 years of work into 8 years and made a fortune, right? And I said to him, I said, so that's interesting, but do you think that if you had been going even harder than the 100 hours a week you were putting in for a decade to get to where you were, that you could have done the other thing that you talked about, which is balancing action with education, so that you take action with better education. You get more education after the action. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know. That's a really good question. Because the journey is the journey. And rushing that journey sometimes just doesn't work. You get somewhere and you look back and go like, well, what happened here? Was I just working all that much harder? But where was the piece of that other side, that learning, that nurturing that you were talking about of even oneself to get to the next level?
I'm a slow mover. I don't think rushing ever makes sense. I think that we have an expression, slow down and move faster. And I think that the thoughtful application of something very often, or like the carpentry expression, measure twice, cut once, it's because when you approach things too quickly, you make a lot of mistakes. I also find that when projects are rushed a lot, it leaves a lot in the wake. There's a lot of stuff that gets, a lot of garbage, like going into a movie theater after a crowd has just left, and there's a lot to clean up because there were a lot of people eating their snacks at the time. And that's what it's like to work on a project too fast. It's like walking into that movie theater and there's just a lot of mess to clean up, and none of that's the fun part. But if you take your time with a project, do it right the first time, get all the education that you need. Not saying wait too long to take action, but I do think that anything worth doing is worth doing correctly, or worth doing consciously.
I also think, tell me what you think about this, that entrepreneurs especially have a tendency to overestimate what they can accomplish in the short term and underestimate what might be possible in the long term.
Yes.
If things are done correctly.
Yeah. And yes. And everyone, I think, not just entrepreneurs, everyone. So many people make these goals and plans that require a level of discipline that they've never demonstrated their entire life, but suddenly it's a short-term goal.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think that's why people overestimate in short-term goals, because they think that tomorrow they're going to be a completely different person like that. They're going to wake up and just get shit done.
Mhm.
And some people do. And most people try, fail in the short-term goal, but because they tried, they're developing systems, habits, processes, knowledge, information, tools that allow them to go even further than they had hoped on a longer-term goal. So,
Exactly. I really think that's such an important concept to pay attention to, because we can be really hard on ourselves because of I guess you need that dream. Is it because we need the dream, Donna? Is it because we need that thought that we can get that much accomplished in a short amount of time to keep going, to get going? What drives that? Because it does cause a fair amount of anxiety, even if it does also cause action.
hmm. I think people get desperate for the result.
Mhm.
And since their short-term goals are results oriented, that's not something that is always within your power or control, especially
Mhm.
money making goals.
Mhm.
It's easy to set them and say, I want to make $20,000 a month passively every month by the end of this year. That's not within your control
Yeah.
at all in any way. You can absolutely do all the things that it takes to have a business that might generate that much revenue, but the rewards or results that we get aren't usually within our control
Well, in the short term.
in the short term.
But
Yeah.
if you continue doing that consistently, growing a business to 20,000 a month residual in a 3 to 5 year period is not unreasonable at all.
Not at all, as long as you continue to apply doing the right thing. But
Mhm.
yeah.
So Lincoln, President Lincoln, over 100 years ago, said the following: "It is an old and true maxim that a drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. So with men, if you would win a man to your cause, first convince him that you are his sincere friend. Therein is a drop of honey that catches his heart, which, say what you will, is the great high road to reason." I really love that, because it just strikes me as how we can encourage people to keep going is with things like that, where you just say, no, you can do this, you can make it, keep going, don't stop yet, there's more to this, keep on trucking, you're
Your
getting there.
your life's going to pass anyway. So let your life pass in pursuit of a worthy goal.
Yeah, and something that matters to you, and something that makes a difference. Do you know Willie Jolly by chance?
No.
Dr. Willie Jolly. So Willie, you know, are good buddies. One of the reasons I love Willie is because he's crazy about his wife. Crazy about his wife. His wife, and they just have a phenomenal relationship that they're very vocal about. And he literally said to himself one day, I've got a dream. I'm going to be a speaker. This is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to figure this out. And built this whole brand around the power of a dream. And one of the things that Willie said was, if you took a corn seed, dug a hole, planted the seed, covered it over, and watered it, it would grow into a corn stalk. And from that corn seed would come an endless amount of other corn seeds. If you took an acorn and planted it, covered it over, and watered it every day, it would grow into an oak tree. The same is true for your dreams. If you can take a dream, create it in your mind, plant it in your heart, and water it, it too will grow. Cabot Roberts said it so aptly: anything your mind can conceive and your heart can believe, you can achieve. I love that piece. Anything your mind can conceive and your heart can believe, you can achieve. And you water it by saying, I believe I can do it. I believe I can do it. In fact, I know I can do it. What do you think about those elementary affirmations that we can give ourselves to continue nurturing the thing that is set to blossom at some point that we're not sure when that is? You're on mute. Sorry. The dogs were speaking, so you muted yourself.
They were trying to chime in. They don't believe any of this. They actually think that they should be able to lie around and do nothing and get the world handed to them in small treats. So they're objecting over here.
Okay. So what were you thinking?
I love that as well, that whatever your heart can believe. I think that that's a real key. And I think that is what stops people from pursuing their goals. That at some point along the lines, they stop believing it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see success fast enough, and then eventually just give up. Because we have this, or one of the causes, we have this sense that things are hard to do, that they require talent and a certain X factor and skills and abilities. And the reality is, I think that anything can be learned, and anyone can do anything and achieve anything. Obviously, there are physical limitations. If you're born, and you're 2 feet tall, you're not going to be a basketball player. That's pretty obvious. So I'm not talking about that. I'm really just talking about like the excuses that we start to make for ourselves. And you hear these all the time from people. Excuses about not being able to achieve their desired goal weight because they have a slow metabolism. Or I hear it all the time when I am with people and we're talking about my art. I hear people say, "Oh, I can't draw." No, you just haven't taken the time to learn. It's not rocket science. It just requires practice. And I think so many of us aren't willing to go through the learning curve. And I think the real sweet spot in life exists when you enjoy learning the things that you need to do on your path to success.
Yeah. And can stay committed to that learning.
Yeah.
That lifelong learning thing is big.
Mm-hmm. And when learning gets hard, people give up. I do it. I played the piano. I was pretty much self-taught in the beginning. And then I reached a point where I couldn't learn anymore. So I went to get lessons, and it was hard, and I stopped playing the piano because I didn't enjoy the learning process.
Yeah, I think that's really true.
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to go through it even if we don't enjoy it. I'm just saying.
We do. Yes, I'm personally struggling with that as well. Because this idea that I've had that I want to master art in all of its forms and in all of its fine art forms, so that I feel like I have the skills and abilities to create anything that I want. And I was faced with a challenge where all through the month of April, I was going to be taking this class challenge thing where we painted abstract paintings. I got 3 paintings into it and realized that I do not like painting abstract paintings. If I had been going to school, I would have had to continue learning and painting abstract paintings and completing the course and getting the information. And because I wasn't going to school, that there was no one that could hold me accountable to that but me, I gave up.
Yeah, it's very interesting. When I just finished my master's program in value creating education and global citizenship last December, and when I had to write these papers, and the papers were very formulaic. This is the premise. This is the body. This is the conclusion. This is premise number 2. This is the thing, whatever. And I thought they were so boring. Like, they're just boring. Academia papers are just boring, boring, boring. And so I went to my teachers multiple times and said, "Can I write this in story format? Like a story, can I write this?" And the answer became, it was kind of funny after a while, because I knew what the answer was going to be. Sure, as long as you do the other one too.
Yeah.
And so you know what I did? I did both. Yep. I flat out did both. I wrote the paper the way they wanted, and then I wrote the story. And of course, I got way more comments about the story than I did about the paper, because the paper is just a rubric, man. If you hit the rubric, you get the grade. Okay. Well, I'm kind of good at that stuff. So I ended up graduating summa cum laude, but I also ended up graduating with half a book because I kept writing stories.
Yeah.
All along. Right.
And stories are more memorable. They're going to make a bigger impression on people. I can't tell you how many abstracts I've read where it's, premise and basic and then explanation for it. And I don't remember a single one of them, but I can tell you the plot to lots and lots of books.
Yeah, law school
lots
does
of
that for you,
stories.
doesn't it? That's something both of us have been there. So check this out. This is Vishan, founder of Mountain Valley, and he's talking about the idea of religion versus humanism. So this is kind of a big thought. He says, in addition to exploring humanism, you could also try to craft your own religion, rich in tradition and self-discovered experiences, but free of the rules of organized religion. In the book, A Religion of One's Own, by Thomas More, the author suggests that we should all create our own religion. He writes, quote, "This new kind of religion asks that you move away from being a follower to being a creator. I foresee a new kind of spiritual creativity in which we no longer decide whether to believe in a given creed and follow a certain tradition blindly. Now we allow ourselves a healthy and even pious skepticism. More important, we no longer feel pressure to choose one tradition over another, but rather are able to appreciate many routes to spiritual richness. This new religion is a blend of individual inspiration and inspiring tradition." I really like that. I really like the idea of going from being a follower to being a creator. The followers are just following. The creators are causing things to blossom.
I'm with you. I think we have an innate desire to create. I think that is the human experience. I think that's why we're here. We are here to create. The most satisfied people I've ever met in life are people that are creating things. And it can be anything. It can be creating a business or an empire, or creating, art, science, music, trainings, courses. They create something, experiences.
Yeah.
Memories.
In this book, Essential Spirituality, Roger Walsh is a very smart dude, talks about this. Love does not flower in a vacuum, but rather is nourished by supportive attitudes such as generosity and gratitude. Generosity is so important, not only to love, but to all spiritual life, that it is one of the seven central practices. What do you think of that? Love is nourished by supportive attitudes such as gratitude and generosity.
Yes, right. I think that's not at all objectionable. I think that's great. I'm wondering whether love exists in a vacuum.
Interesting. He didn't say it doesn't exist in a vacuum. He said it does not flower in a
vacuum. In a vacuum. Doesn't blossom in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought that was thought-provoking, at least.
It definitely. And certainly the more love you put out in the world, the more love seeds that you plant, the more love blossoms you will reap.
And he says here, he calls gratitude the doorway to love. Kicks it off by saying, while forgiveness heals the heart of old hurts, gratitude opens it to present love. Gratitude bestows many benefits. It dissolves negative feelings. Anger and jealousy melt in its embrace. Fear and defensiveness shrink. Gratitude deflates the barriers to love.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It does. If you think about it, take a moment to let that sink for the deflates the barrier. For sure it does. Like you just can't hold on to that junk anymore if you're feeling that sense of gratitude. If the gratitude is welling forth, you just can't hold on to that stuff. It's like, I feel such gratitude, but I'm full of anger and mad. I feel such
Yeah.
gratitude, but I'm anxious. And no, it's really hard to have those things coexist.
Gratitude is a uniquely positive emotion. We have so many emotions that are mixes of things. So they give you a concept like bittersweet, or emotions that are complex combinations of lots of different emotions, thoughts, and feelings. But gratitude is just uniquely positive.
Yeah, it is. And here's what's also very cool. He goes on to say, like other attitudes, gratitude can be cultivated.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for our fairy godmother to shower us with gifts before feeling thankful. We can develop gratitude by reflecting on the gifts that are already ours. This reflection can be done for a minute, a day, or throughout a lifetime. Most people celebrate their birthday and holidays, but those who cultivate gratitude celebrate every day. We can be grateful because we're happy, but we also can be happy because we're grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's so cool. I love that. We can be grateful because we are happy, but we can also be happy because we're grateful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a yes.
I think when you find things that, yeah, because gratitude is that uniquely positive feeling, which allows you to, open the door to other positive feelings, whether it's love. First, you appreciate someone, then realize that you come to love them. Or just happiness. You appreciate a funny joke that you've been told earlier, and that humor makes you happy. I like gratitude as a gateway.
Yeah. Interestingly, yesterday, I've been doing, as you know, getting way ahead of myself with GrooveGrowth. And yesterday, I had another fabulous GrooveGrowth program with Dr. Joe Rubino. Do you know Joe?
I don't know him personally, but I definitely know who he is.
He's a great friend of mine. We've been friends a very, very long time. I actually had him on my TV show 20 years ago. And he created the Center for Personal Reinvention because his story is amazing. He became a dentist first. He was dropped on his head when he was 6 years old and bullied. People were using him as a football, bigger kids. And so he became the guy that didn't want to talk to anybody because people hurt people. And that's my story. And then he became a dentist because dentists couldn't talk back to you. Patients can't talk back to you when you're in their face. And then one day he gets dragged to a personal growth seminar for the weekend with his partner, and goes, wait a second, there might be something bigger that I don't understand here. And went through a decade of personal development, personal growth to understand the story that he told himself about lack of self-esteem. And I was able to point out to him that he had never seen the connection until yesterday. I said, do you realize that dentists really help people develop self-esteem? Did you ever see that connection? He said, I never did. I never saw it till right now. I said, yeah, when you improve someone's smile, you help them develop self-esteem. And then you went on to become a world-renowned expert in this area. And one of the things that he said about changing any kind of a habit was to develop and to keep an upset journal. And an upset journal goes like this. Whenever you get upset, you grab your upset journal and you write down 3 things. What did someone say or do to make you upset? Part 1. Part 2, what did you decide or make up about that thing that they said or did? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And part 3, are you willing to give up your need to be a victim? And he said, if you do that consistently, you will find patterns. You'll see the patterns begin to emerge, and you'll begin to recognize that this is about me and my story, and I'm making this up, and nobody's actually doing it to me other than me doing it largely to myself, because it's same thing over and over and over and over. And this upset journal will help you build that self-esteem, blossom in a way.
What a great process.
Huh?
That's a great process.
Right?
Yeah. I can immediately think of a couple people in my life that could desperately use that process.
Right, exactly. That's why I love GrooveGrowth, because we're always discovering cool stuff like this.
Yeah.
All right, I got to go to my man Jim Rohn. You know, I'm coming back to my man Jim Rohn. It's interesting because this guy Nick that I just did the GrooveGrowth with a couple hours ago was me and I were really big into Jim Rohn back in the day together. We still both listen to Jim Rohn constantly. Jim talks a lot about the seasons, and what he says about the spring, which is where we are right now, as of this moment, is it is a natural characteristic of springtime to present itself ever so briefly, or to lull us into inactivity with its bounteous beauty. Do not pause too long to soak in the aroma of the blossoming flowers, lest you awaken to find springtime gone with your seed still in your sack. Spring does not care if you sow or sleep, nor does it care if you plant abundantly or meagerly. It does not care if you plant the fertile kernel or useless weed seeds. Neither spring nor the soil, sun, or other elements care if you plant at all. It will merely present itself as the time to take advantage. Springtime will not admonish you to plant, nor will it warn you of the consequences of not planting. Right? You talk about that nurturing thing. I love this stuff about the spring. I'm always, in my mind, I'm always asking myself, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I plant? How can I move this thing forward? And if anything, it has caused me to be relatively restless as a person. Like, I'm not particularly good at chilling out. I'm just not. I don't really have that. I wish I were better at chilling out. But me to go lie out by the pool, that lasts about like 10 minutes. Then I want to go do laps or something. But that's just me. But I do think that there's amazing truth in this concept of the essence of springtime is faith woven among the threads of human effort. Springtime is the fresh air of new opportunity amid the dissipating clouds of winter. It is the time for entering the empty fields given to us as a new chance. When we enter those fields, we see in the adjoining fields the blossoming of nature's flowers, the daisies and other miracles of nature, reminding us that now that nature fulfills its promises. Right? Always going back to that. You got to plant the seeds, man. And then you got to nurture the seeds somehow. Got to keep watering them. Some are going to be taken by the birds. Some are going to be burned up by the sun. Some of them are going to be flooded and drenched by too much rain. Some of them. But if you don't plant any seeds and nurture the seeds, then what?
And if you plant them in the winter, they're not going to take hold because it's not the right time. If you plant them in the summer, they're not going to grow a bountiful harvest because it's too late. Spring's a good time for blossoming, or seeding.
He says, each day is given to us as a new season of spring. I love that. Each day is given to us as a new season of spring. The thoughts, deeds, dreams, and efforts of today will provide tomorrow's harvest. To neglect the opportunity given to us this day is to delay our better future. There will be no better day, no better opportunity, no better springtime, no better time to begin than the current moment. Seize the moments as you find them and mold them into your better future. Today's procrastination will surely be tomorrow's regret.
I think it's Marcus Aurelius who said that wasted time belongs to death, that it is a death. Every day that passes, you've actually died. So instead of me I turned 52 in a couple months, instead of me having lived 52 years, I've actually died 52 years.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
That is powerful. If you think about that little deaths of opportunity and chances to plant a seed.
He goes on to say, life is truly a constant beginning, a constant opportunity, a constant springtime. Mm-hmm. Fortune, happiness, and peace of mind await those who learn to look for the miraculous hidden among the common. That's so cool. Look for the miraculous hidden among the common. As an artist, you take a blank screen and make something miraculous out of just white.
I am I'm starting to formulate a information product for art. And and the product that I'm forming is based on a practice that I've been doing every day this year. Started it this year. It has transformed my life. It's amazing. I do a small painting, a 1-inch painting every single day. And that practice has helped me slow down and appreciate and find beauty in every single day. There was a bigger point that I was going to make. So I'm starting to create it. I don't know, what did you just say? I lost my point. I apologize.
No. You were talking about that you were doing a 1-inch painting every single day.
Yeah, but it was something about the...
Well, here's what I said. Fortune, happiness, and peace of mind await those who learn to look for the miraculous hidden among the common.
Yes, there we go. That is exactly it. The miraculous hidden among the common. I feel like that is a great description of the process that I'm doing, because some days just pass and there's nothing really unusual or unique about that day. And when I'm faced with the challenge of finding something, I can find a miraculous in there. Even on a day that's just a boring day that I'm working, there will be something that I can appreciate and be grateful for, and experience that as I think about my day and think about what little thing am I going to refer to this day. I've done things like put in the food that I had for lunch and drew that just because that was part of my day. But whatever that day that was, let's call it January 4th. Let's say January 4th, I ate chicken legs for lunch and I drew that on my calendar. Why would I choose to remember that I ate chicken legs any day? But because I celebrated it, it's there, it's appreciated, and it rises to the level of gratitude. Who sits and says, I'm grateful for chicken legs? I mean, I suppose if you're really hungry and presented with chicken legs, you're going to feel gratitude for them. But it's that common mundane thing, finding that beauty in every single day. I'm going to call this process Mori months, Morii. Mori is an obscure English word that means the desire to capture a fleeting moment.
Wow, I love that. That is the hidden in the miraculous.
Yep.
Or the miraculous in the hidden. Both.
Yes.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, so Jim concludes the whole piece on springtime with the following sentence. The unique blending of sun, soil, and seed at the springtime of seasons will provide predictable and miraculous results for those who will learn to take full and complete advantage of the spring. And notice he said, every day is an opportunity for springtime. I thought that was great. And then we have the blossoming that ensues from that. Wow. Well, thank you as always, Madame.
Are we at the end of our time? Oh my goodness, that went so quickly.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, don't go.
Oh, man. So it does seem to happen to us, doesn't it?
It does.
Every month.
We love talking about this content. If you stuck with us this far, thank you. But we know this can get a little esoteric, but mindset is so powerful. It is truly everything. You can wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and there's a reason that's an expression, because you wake up with the incorrect mindset. But you can also wake up on the right side of the bed, armed with your little shovel and your seeds to go start planting and enjoying the spring. So I think that is our sincere wish for all of you.
And feeling that gratitude, cultivating that gratitude so that we can have an amazing blossoming. Thank you, Donna. As always, so enjoyable. Appreciate it. So take us on home.
All right, let's appreciate the incredible job that our good friend Paul Hoffman did on this great song. See
Yes.
you next time, everyone.